Imagine a superpower knocking on your door with a smile, a handshake, and a hidden contract designed to pull the gold out from under your feet. No threats, no shouting, just a quiet request that could decide the future of an entire nation. That is exactly what happened when the United States approached Burkina Faso. And this time, President Traoré didn't just say no. He exposed what the world was really fighting over. It began with a short, polished message from a U.S. trade envoy. A request for a confidential, technical consultation with Burkina Faso's transitional government. No press, no cameras, nothing official on paper. But everybody in that room understood the real topic: gold and the global battle forming around it. Washington had just changed its mineral policy, opening the door for American companies to import gold without old restrictions. Insiders saw it immediately. Markets shifted, mining firms scrambled, and inside the State Department someone circled a single name: Burkina Faso. A country with some of the richest gold deposits in West Africa. A country now led by a man who doesn't bow. The message looked diplomatic. The subtext wasn't, "Let's talk. We want access." Inside Ouagadougou, the reaction wasn't fear or excitement. It was tension. The quiet kind that appears when an empire suddenly becomes interested in what you protect. If the U.S. wanted the gold, the question became obvious. What else would they demand? Because this wasn't just a trade request. The world had already stepped into a mineral war, and gold had returned to the center of global power. Not jewelry gold, not bank gold, but strategic gold. The kind that strengthens currencies, stabilizes governments, and shapes geopolitical leverage. Washington's policy shift wasn't a technical adjustment. It was a power move. Africa, long treated as an endless supplier, had become the new battleground, and Burkina Faso, despite its size, had something far more threatening than huge mines: a leader committed to resource sovereignty. That combination made Washington uncomfortable. Reports started circulating in think tanks. The government was tightening its mining sector, reviewing foreign contracts, building its own data system to track every gram of gold. Without access to that data, the U.S. had no leverage. And in a world where China and Russia were expanding their grip on global minerals, Washington needed leverage. So the pressure began. Envoys asked for meetings. Mining corporations sent offers wrapped in friendly language. Consultants talked about partnership, modernization, stability. But every conversation circled back to the same quiet demand: access, visibility, control. Burkina Faso saw the pattern instantly. Traoré understood exactly what it meant. This wasn't about investment. It was about influence. The proposals looked harmless at first. Technical vocabulary, glossy promises, the usual corporate perfume. But buried inside were clauses that told the real story: foreign oversight, audit rights inside extraction zones, temporary authority over mining operations, control over gold flow data. It wasn't cooperation. It was supervision. Behind closed doors, U.S. mining executives dropped the sugarcoating. They wanted direct communication with mine managers, control over export schedules, real-time monitoring of extraction volumes. Because whoever controls the data controls the negotiation, and whoever controls the negotiation controls the gold. Soon, pressure started flowing in from other angles. A development loan delayed. A think tank warning about resource nationalism. A U.S. official criticizing opaque gold practices in the Sahel. Nothing dramatic. Everything calculated. Some officials in Burkina Faso argued for compromise, but those closest to Traoré understood the long game. Give up your data today and you lose your sovereignty tomorrow. So the government stayed quiet and watched. When the next U.S. message arrived, the stakes became clear. The request was for a closed-door meeting with a U.S. envoy tied to a major Texas mining conglomerate. No delegation, no paperwork, pure power politics. The meeting took place in a neutral building. Inside, the Americans delivered their true demand: full digital visibility into Burkina Faso's gold operations, not annual audits, not monthly reports, live access, every ounce, every shipment, every movement, in real time. They framed it as efficiency. Everyone knew what it really was: control. Then came the second folder, a technical annex quietly proposing the integration of U.S. monitoring tools into Burkina Faso's sovereign data grid. the same system built to protect the country from foreign interference. That was the breaking point. Burkina Faso stayed polite. They ended the meeting with courtesy, but behind the silence, the decision was already forming. When analysts in Ouagadougou dissected the contract, the truth became blunt. The Americans weren't asking for oversight. They were asking for a digital foothold. They wanted the ability to enter the system during anomalies, intervene during discrepancies, and synchronize data with their own servers. To a casual reader, these were safeguards. To anyone who understood geopolitics, they were pressure points, and the pressure widened. A European loan delayed. A media narrative about gold opacity. Coordinated criticism from think tanks and economists. This wasn't negotiation, it was containment. And then something unexpected happened. Mali reached out, Niger followed, Guinea joined. Calm messages, quiet words, but clear meaning. If they pressure you today, they pressure us tomorrow. It wasn't an alliance. It was an instinct. The early pulse of what would later be called AES 2.0, Washington noticed. A senator warned of regional consolidation. European officials called it mineral nationalism. Economists warned of an anti-Western posture. But what they feared most was the part they never said aloud. If the Sahel coordinates its gold, it gains leverage over global prices. And if it gains leverage, the balance of power shifts. The U.S. had come for oversight. Their pressure created regional unity instead. Inside the presidency, Traore said it in one line. If they want to follow our gold, they follow our direction. The turning point arrived quietly. A leaked memo suggested Western partners were evaluating coordinated economic responses. No signatures, no agencies, just intent. Ouagadougou understood instantly. This wasn't pressure. This was alignment. The question was no longer technical. It was existential. Are we negotiating or are we being contained? Evidence leaned toward containment. So Traore made his move. He tightened export controls, ordered a nationwide audit of mining permits, froze new foreign access agreements, reinforced the sovereign data grid. The message was unmistakable. Burkina Faso will not negotiate under pressure. Western capitals reacted with more warnings, more narratives, more predictions of isolation. But inside Burkina Faso, something had shifted. They were no longer reacting. They were defining the next step. Strip everything down, and the fight becomes clear. The U.S. didn't ask for gold. They asked for real-time data. Because data isn't information. Data is prediction. Prediction is leverage. Leverage is control. With real-time access, a foreign power can forecast every move a nation is about to make. Budget decisions, export routes, currency shifts, vulnerabilities. Data is the blueprint of a nation's future. Give it up, and your sovereignty becomes symbolic. Traore refused because he understood one thing every small nation must learn. If they can track your gold, they can shape your decisions. If they can shape your decisions, your independence is gone. But there was a deeper layer the diplomats never say out loud. Maybe Washington wasn't just after gold. Maybe they wanted to stop something bigger. A unified Sahelian gold front, capable of influencing global pricing and negotiating on equal footing. For decades, Africa's minerals flowed outward, fragmented, uncoordinated, predictable. But unity, real unity, changes everything. A coordinated Sahelian gold strategy would give the region something it has been denied for generations: leverage, and leverage is power. In the end, this confrontation wasn't about transparency or governance. It wasn't even about gold. It was about the rules. Who writes them? Who follows them? And what happens when Africa stops accepting rules written somewhere else? For the first time in a long time, the answer didn't come from Washington. It came from Ouagadougou.